Welcome to Chad Hates Carbs. Today we're going to do angel food cake, which is one of my favorite desserts. I just got a angel food cake pan for my birthday because I previously recorded this and my camera died about halfway through. Didn't realize it, so I have actually done a trial run of this recipe and it tastes fantastic. I had to use a bundt pan, which was humorous to everyone involved as I was scraping angel food cake out of a bundt. Anyway, so we're going to do it with an angel food cake pan. It's going to work much better. So, to start with, we need 375 grams of egg whites. Now, in my previous go at this, I used basically every egg I had in the house. I thought I was going to have enough with only 9 eggs. I was wrong. I ended up with, I think, 330 grams. It still turned out fine, so there is a little bit of leeway in here, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to shoot for 375 grams. So to start with, again, the standard kind of method that you use, you want to split the eggs, and this one cracked kind of strangely, but you want to, when you're doing egg whites, you want to kind of let it run out and then just kind of pass the yolk between the two shells until you get mostly yolk. I mean, obviously you don't want to, you do not, here's the secret, and it was already broken. You do not want any yolk to get in with the whites, because if it does, you end up with a giant mess, and the egg whites won't set up correctly. So you do have to be pretty careful with this, making sure that you don't get yolks in there. So you don't want the yolk to break. So as you're passing it, you have to make sure that you don't get it caught on the edges of these eggs. Have a lot of, and it's okay if this kind of stuff ends up in the whites, because it'll become less obvious as it's being eaten or whatever. Or I mean eaten. Obviously you're not going to notice when you eat it either. But anyway, that's pretty much all of that one. And so we're just going right now until we get, I need to switch this to grams. 73 grams. These are bigger eggs for whatever reason than the last batch that I was using. So, and they seem to have more whites in them than yolks, which is also interesting, because the last batch I had were smaller eggs and they were much more yolk heavy. So, come on. Yeah, this is the part that makes me nervous, obviously, because there's that whole, don't want the yolk to break in here. And it's funny because it actually looks, there's like a little bit of a yellowish tint to this, so I'm hoping that I didn't get a little bit of yolk. But some of these whites are, yeah, like that one right there, this one here, the yolk is still intact, but it looks a little bit more, it's a little bit yellower than the other ones. We're at 150, so we're halfway there with only 5 eggs, so these eggs are going to end up, I'm not going to have to use a whole dozen, it's not looking like. Come on now. Pass it over. There we go. And I like to use the eggshell to like cut when there's like little strings. You can use the eggshell as like a little bit of a, little bit of a knife or something to make it work a little bit better. We're at 186 right now. There we go. Got a little bit crazy with that one. Dip it in there. 224. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is 375, so we needed over 200. Yeah, I don't know what I was focused more on the 300, not the 75. So yeah, we need to get close to 400, so I think my math was off. It's okay, as long as you hit the number. And actually, like I said before, the fact that I did it at 330 last time was fine. So okay. You also got to make sure you don't get any shell in there, obviously, because that would be a bad time. So we're at 299 right now. Yeah, okay. We're gonna be hitting the whole dozen eggs. So I guess long and short of it, like since the last time I did 9, well, that one broke, kind of weird. Since the last time I did 9 and it was 330, I would say that you're safe to just, you don't even need to measure it at this point. This is 2 very different configurations of eggs. Like I said, these are much bigger eggs with more whites in them, and it still is looking like it's really close. So we're at 375 with 10 eggs. So I think you'd be safe if you just went with, you know, a dozen eggs. I think that's probably an easy thing to say. But, you know, it's kind of your call, obviously. So now that we've, I'm gonna check the camera. Still recording, yay. Okay. So now that we've got this, I'm gonna set these aside. We're gonna use this to make a quiche later on this week. So I'll just set these over here because we don't need them. And we've got our egg whites. What we're gonna do is we're going to add to the egg whites, we're gonna add cream of tartar, which helps it set up and firm up. And we need a little bit of salt in there as well. So let's just go ahead and put our extra eggs away. Glad I didn't have to use a whole dozen. Okay, so that's that. So we need a half a teaspoon of salt. Gotta get out my measuring stuff here. We need a half a teaspoon of salt. So we will put that in there. And we're going to put, actually I guess I can just dump it directly in the KitchenAid. So we're going to dump all the egg whites in here. And the reason that I did this, instead of putting it directly in here, was in case I screwed something up, I could always, you know, use another batch of eggs. Some people, if you're super nervous about it, go ahead and split them into egg whites and egg yolks one at a time, and then pour the egg white into your final result. That's what I did when I was starting doing this, because, like I said, I was super nervous about it. So that's another tip you can use. Nowadays I'm mostly comfortable, so I just do it with the one extra step. Okay, so half a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of cream of tartar, and my cream of tartar, I have 2 containers of it because I'm afraid I'm gonna not have enough to get out of here. Actually, I'll do it this way. I'm going to use the new container and then dump the old into the new on the top, so I don't have to fight it. Okay. One and a half teaspoons. So that's 1/2 teaspoon, 2½ teaspoons, and 3½ teaspoons. And a little bit extra because I got it on the outside. Okay, so that's that. I'll worry about this stuff later. So then this stuff, we're going to beat it until good and frothy is what it says. So we'll let the KitchenAid get started on that. Okay. Looks like it's a little bit put on the side there. So let's smush that down in there a little bit. So when it says frothy, it means frothy. It does not mean that you want it to be totally done. That's one of the things you got to be careful with. You don't want it to, you don't want to overbeat it because otherwise you can end up with some weird texture and whatnot. So what we want to do now is mix the extracts that we need, which we're using almond and vanilla, And then also, let's see, what else are we calling for right now? Fibriyum and sucralose. Okay, Fibriyum is a sweetener. And sucralose, they're asking for 25 drops of sucralose, which 12 drops is equal to 12 drops is a half a cup, so 25 is about a full cup. So we're going to go ahead and just use a full cup of sucralose, and we're going to dump that in instead. It makes it a little bit tougher because I have actually messed with this a little bit before, like I said in the last recipe, and it's not the same effect as being able to just drizzle in liquid. Okay, I do not have sucralose liquid, so that's the unfortunate thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, it's saying drizzle slowly over the egg white while beating on high speed. I think I'm going to go ahead and just dump this stuff in directly because, hey, that's what this whole show is about, right? Trying things. So we're going to do a tablespoon of Fibriyum, and this is saying sweetener syrup. So again, the expectation is that you're going to be using liquids to dump in here. I'm not going to be doing that. The only liquids I'm going to have are the extracts, and we need a teaspoon of each of the extracts. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started up again. I'm not really sure why my KitchenAid is making that sound. Maybe that's a teaspoon of the almond. Teaspoon of vanilla. And we need a tablespoon of, and honestly, it worked fine last time, so I'm just going to do this. Okay, so at this point we just let it beat, stay on high, and we're looking for it to have stiff heat. That's what we're looking for. Okay, stiff heat. At this point, we want whey protein, quarter cup of whey protein. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Let's check and see how it's, nope, not quite done. Okay, and then we want 3/4 cup of leaven flour. Okay, there we go. That's looking better. All right. So now we have what I would consider to be stiff peaks, because they'll stick up. If you can pull it up and they stay stiff coming out of the mixture, that's good to me. So we're going to call that good, and we're going to take that. We're going to use that. And we're going to be folding that in with our dry. We still need 1.5 teaspoons of glucosamine, which is cognac powder, and we're going to be playing with that a little bit. Gluten flour, I think, is made from some kind of like beans or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but the texture, it's super, super fine, which I think is why it works in this. And glucosamine also is incredibly fine as well. We need 1.5 teaspoons. I didn't use the half teaspoons for any liquids, did I? Yeah, close enough. Alright, so we want 1.5 teaspoons, so a half, 1, and a half. Okay. And then we want straight up a cup of powdered erythritol. So we're using Swerve for that. I just ordered this when I made my, so Swerve is a erythritol. Their powdered version is really good, and a cup of it is a depressing amount because when you look at how much this is, yeah, this is basically going to probably use this entire bag of erythritol. So This is a half cup right here. It's a whole cup. So yeah, I probably have about this much left. So it does use quite a bit in this cake. And that's, I mean, there's a lot of sweeteners obviously in this cake because, I mean, it's angel food cake. It's cake. Alright, so we want to do that. We want to mix all this stuff together. We want to it says sift dry ingredients. I didn't do it last time. I don't think I need to do it. This stuff is all super, super fine. I'm totally, what's the point of sifting? Just to mix it up? I can do that with a spatula or whatever. So we're going to do that. And it says scoop out half of that into a big bowl. Unfortunately, I think I'm all out of giant bowls. I could try this. Let's try this one. Is this bigger than this one? It's bigger sideways, but not that much taller. I think I'll stick with this one. Okay. I'm a pro. Actually, I'm not because these videos aren't monetized. So let's go ahead and just mix this up. I'm just going to go ahead and use the whisk to mix it. I don't need this is in the way. I mean, I don't know how exciting this is to watch me use a whisk on some dry ingredients, but make sure we got everything in here. Whey protein, we did that. Did the lupin flour, did the glucosamine, did the powdered erythritol. Yep. I had been buying Anthony's bulk erythritol. I kind of got off of erythritol there for a while. And the Anthony's is granular, which is fine, but the texture that you run into with some of the granular stuff, and I'm not saying their quality's fine, they're great, I enjoyed it, whatever. It's just that when it's granular, you have to then, grind it up to get not that granular texture. If you're looking for something that's smooth or whatever, like especially in something like this, where everything is super powdery, you're not going to get that powdery mouthfeel if you end up with granular. It's like salt, like chunks of salt in your. I mean, it just, I don't know, not a thing. So that's why I went with the swerve this time, because I knew I wanted to make this cake, and of course then it didn't show up on time. I mean, anyway, it was a whole comedy of errors. So kind of like this, because this is not going to fit in here. So we're gonna, I don't know. Maybe what I'll do is I'll put half of this in here. Half of it, and that's what I'll do. Food hacks as we're cooking. Alright, so I'm going to put half in here, and I'm going to fold it, and then I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to fold it again. It's just to see if we can get something like half or a third into each of these. We'll fold it, and then we'll fold it all together and hope that, because this stuff will, the egg whites will reduce in size as you fold stuff in. So, when it talks about folding, the idea is you're just basically like putting the dry ingredients on top, and then you kind of cut it in a little bit as you're going. And the idea is you're using, and this is it's super pasty, so it's really hard to do this. A lot of times, like when I used to make waffles, before I did all the low carb stuff, I would do egg whites just like this. Then I would fold in my stuff, and it was really tough because when you fold it in, I had to learn how to do it, right? But at least then, everything was kind of runny. In this case, none of it's runny. It's all the super dry, powdery stuff. And so trying to get it all mixed in is significantly harder. So, anyway. But this is kind of the method that you use. You just kind of keep rotating it and turning it over the top. And ironically, it seems like this has been harder than the last time I made this cake. Which is weird, because I actually have more of the egg white in this one than I did in the last one. Alright, your turn. Yeah, that bowl is better than this one. I normally use the other giant clear bowl, but it's in use right now, so I can't use it. This bowl sucks. Okay. Did I use the comedy of errors statement before? Because this is pretty funny. I'm being a mess. Okay. I am going to put this in here. Then I'm going to put this in here. Tower of Hanoi problem, except it's with folding cake. Somebody had mentioned in one of my previous videos that they want me to just cut down to just the parts where it looks like a delish video or something, where it's just showing the basics. But part of the reason that I do this channel this way is because I want people to see what it actually takes to cook something, especially when you screw up and you fail and whatever. Because I'm tired of like cooking shows that are very like, this is the way that the pro, yes, that's how the pros do it, but then there's some failure like me that still tries to make stuff, and you know, at the end of the day, it's fine. It's fine. I cooked something, it didn't work out exactly the way I would have wanted it to, but it's fine. It tasted good at the end, and I learned something, and you know, like I learned that maybe it would have been better for me to go try to find the exact right bowl. It would have been a good idea, rather than doing what I'm doing right now. But I didn't, so you gotta roll with it. So do I throw up my arms and give up? No. Do I try something else next time? But right now, I'm going to try to salvage this recipe from the few mistakes I've made and keep going. Again, that's kind of the point of this channel, is that I want everyday normal people to be able to cook food like this without thinking that they have to be a professional to do it. And that when you make a mistake in the kitchen or whatever, it's not the end of the world. You're going to survive, and you can generally salvage most every mistake you make in the kitchen. I mean, obviously, if you burn something, you're going to have a hard time with that. But, you know, if you screw up when you're measuring some things, you know, sometimes you can salvage it, sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's a mitigation strategy, like with the egg whites. If you are really nervous about it, crack them into a separate bowl. Same thing. That's one of those strategies that I had to use when I was first learning how to do it. So just keep on keeping on. And you can see, obviously, like I said, this bowl is a little bit too small. I really would rather have had a bigger bowl. But it's not, I mean, we can make it work. We can make it work. Even if you don't have the perfect tools, you can figure out how to make it all happen. So, here we go. So you can see there's still a little bit of lumpiness in there. You're going to have that. There's no, at least even the last time, I folded it for probably 10 minutes or something. It was something ridiculous. Who knows how long I've been folding this. It's been a while. But you can still see there's little chunks in here. It's going to be there. You're not going to ever have batter that's 100% smooth and whatever, unless you completely get around the point of doing this folding, which is to integrate the egg whites and still have it be kind of fluffy. That's the point of this, is the egg whites are introducing air into the mixture, into the batter. And that's why this looks like this instead of like a regular like pancake batter or something. It's because of the egg whites, and the egg whites have air in it, and the reaction that's happening between the cream of tartar and, you know, all the stuff in the eggs and all that, it's helping make it this texture. So if you were to like make it really harsh, you'd end up getting rid of all the air, which is precisely counterproductive. So you don't want to do that. So we got some almond flour. Let's try this. Dust a little bit of almond flour on here. Kind of trying to throw it on the sides and on the bottom a little bit. Not a ton, obviously, but I had never tried this before, so I don't have any idea if it works or not, but hey, I read it on the internet, so it must be true, right? Okay, so that's that. Got a little bit of almond flour after we sprayed it. And now we just dump this in here, and then we stick it in the, it should have preheated the oven. Every time I do this, it didn't say at the very beginning of the thing, so 375 is what we're going to do. So spin this out. You can't see when there's a bag in the way. So all I'm doing is kind of going around kind of evenly, and then going back around. Idea here obviously is that I'm not going to dump it all in one section and then hope that it kind of spreads out. I'm going to dump it mostly around and then I'm going to spread it at the end. Okay. Now, scoop out all the goodness here. I drive my wife crazy with this because I hate wasting anything. So I'm always trying to get the last little bit of dough or the last little bit of batter or whatever. Including on the spatula. Okay, so that's that. Let's go ahead and spread it around a little bit. Now, you're only going to have about half as much, like even when I did it in the bundt pan last week, you're only going to have about half as much as you expect. It's not going to fill the whole thing, and that's because this stuff is going to rise like crazy. So there's no, don't freak out when you're, you know, it's barely halfway up. All right, so that's that. And we're going to slap this bad boy in the oven. And when I come back, we'll try to, well, first of all, we'll try to get out of the pan, which was a problem for me last time, like I said. And then after that, we will try the flavors and see how the flavors turn out. So I'll see you then. All right, we're at 50 minutes, and we're going to pull this guy out and see what we look like. There we have it. That's interesting because it definitely came off the sides. It didn't rise nearly as much as I thought it would. Interesting. So, yeah. And we can pull it right out. So at 50 minutes, it was done. So I do not need to cook it anymore. So let's go ahead and slap it on the stand here. Well, it's not nearly as fluffy as the last one was. But we're gonna let it cool, and we'll see what happens when we get back. So anyway, today's not my day. My camera keeps dying. Cake failed or flopped, whatever. That's definitely spongy. How's that give to it? I mean, the texture is perfect. It has that almond and vanilla flavor that you get out of an angel food cake. So it's not a failure. I think I'm going to have to next time. I realize I'm being barbaric, I apologize. I think I may end up having to investigate that whole liquid piece of it, like in terms of the liquid. Well, but see, then you have the ratio problem of what happens if you dissolve it in water and then mix water in, and that would make it, I mean, you'd have water plus. So I'm gonna have to look into some kind of a liquid substitute, or actually get some liquid. It's interesting because there's actually holes, like actual air pockets, big air pockets. It's a huge air pocket in there. So it didn't not work, I guess is what I'll say. But I think that there is something to that liquid thing, because I can see some of the inconsistencies in the where there were still little chunks. So it didn't do what most of, like my pancake batter or whatever, where you have little pockets of, like right here, there's just this little bit of the not egg white stuff. Anyway, So yeah, this is definitely a great recipe as far as flavor goes. Both times it turned out perfectly. Like I said, last time I cooked it in a bundt pan. I cooked this for 50 minutes. And last time I'm pretty sure I cooked it maybe even 55 minutes in the bundt pan. This didn't stick at all, so I think this trick is good. Where the other one I was having to scrape it out because it was stuck to the pan pretty heavily. But the combination of spraying it with the flour I think is a good trick. But definitely, I mean, I love angel food cake and this tastes great. It doesn't look very good, so obviously not something you want to take to a party or something, but trust me, this will be gone by the end of the week. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully the next one will be a little bit more successful. If you have any tips on maybe something I should have done different, please feel free to comment, and yeah, let me know what I should do different next time. Till then, take care and have a great day.